Yeah. Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to Real Deep Conversations. We are bringing you freshness and deep thoughts, and just
Some
challenging.
personal experiences.
Yeah, some personal experiences, and we're just challenging what has been normal to you as much as possible. My name is Buki, and this is.
My name is Praise.
And this is.
My name is Adiola.
Okay, so what we haven't done before actually is to sort of put up our own Instagram handle so you can follow us and tag us and send us private messages and stuff. So we're gonna do that at some point today. But this is going out live on all our platforms at Real Deep CONVOZ, which is CONVOZ, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I think we should just get right into it. And allow people to join us as they
As they can.
as they can. Yes, definitely. It is really it's I can't believe it's actually 4 weeks.
It's 4 weeks, baby.
It was
So I'll make a confession.
okay.
It took forever for us to start, and now it's 4 weeks gone. And so it's the first, like they say, the first episode of something is better than the first episode of nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Right? So and you only get better as you go. So do it scared, do it unprepared,
Yeah.
and do it again. Rinse and repeat. So
Recipe for success
Lyrics.
by the guru.
Lyrics.
Adiola.
Yes.
in the middle.
Okay, any sort of special, words you like to say before we kick off?
You
Praise?
are our wise one.
Don't mind
So
them.
please drop some words.
There
of
is no word to
wisdom.
drop. I mean, I'm just excited that they say it's you don't have to be great to get started,
Yes.
but you have to get started on the way to becoming great.
Absolutely.
And I think it holds true for everything we do in our lives. That people can do our analysis paralysis. You give a lot of
You get ready
excuses.
to get ready.
There was
to
a
get
time
ready
we
to
didn't
get
have
ready.
camera, we didn't get, you remember we made a budget. We made one humongous budget that,
we're going to
we're going to do that.
That will help us.
Then one day we just looked at ourselves and realized that,
What are we
we have a
doing?
studio, and here we are, So whatever you want to do, start it.
Just
Yeah. I also believe that sometimes we put a bit too much emphasis on, it's got to be
Perfection.
perfect. It's got to be, the big stuff. It's got to have the wow effect. And, COVID has really shown us this year that simplicity actually goes
Just get
a
it done,
long
man.
way. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want us to talk forever because we have quite a bit to get through today.
Yeah.
We're still on the subject of mental abuse, dealing with mental abuse. And today's topic is about getting your power back. I wish I could play that Beyonce's, power song. That's what's going through my mind right now. Yeah.
I could
Anyway.
play it for you.
No, it's okay. Bring out all the I don't know.
Emotions.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the focus today, and I'm gonna take a little bit of control because you like to talk.
You're in charge. You're in charge.
So
It's okay.
yeah.
We follow you.
So I want us to kick
You're
off
our leader.
Yes, my leader.
You hear that? So I want us to talk a little bit about. I want us to start from just go back to last week when we were talking about dealing with mental abuse, which could stem from financial abuse, domestic abuse, and all of that. And one of my friends asked a question, on which I'm not sure we completely answered. So it's like, please, can you guys deal with this? So I thought we should deal with that quickly, and then we'll move on to the rest of our lineup for today. And it is, what advice would you give a person whose abuser is their financial backer? You know, and it's, you know, whether it's a parent or a spouse, you know, a parent or a spouse. So yeah, so what how would you advise such a person?
Well, I think one thing we forget so easily is that you were born alone. You didn't come into this world with anyone. You know, so someone gets a job and starts earning like a million, then he completely forgot that there was a time he wasn't earning a million and he was still feeding.
Yeah.
He was still living. You know, so there are people who come. I mean, some relationships are for a season, some are for a reason, and some are for a lifetime. You know, so a lot of people make their bus stop into their destination. So the person is your financial backer, you know, but what are they? So if this person doesn't sponsor you any longer,
Will you die?
are you going to die? You know, so take your mind back to a time before you met this person. How did you survive? You actually survived. You lived without. It's not always been there forever, right? Then you can now do skill audit for the person. You know, what can you do on your own? Everyone has got something, right? So you do a skill audit to find out what can you do, where can you start, you know, who can you talk to, you know. Then before you know it, you realize that many of the things people never thought they had began to show up. I mean, like it happened to us. Diola has been around me for years.
Yeah.
You know, for years there were things that we never got to talk about until this week. You know, and both of us were going
in different
direction. You know, so there is a whole lot happening around you that until someone is able to shift your focus to that thing, you may not know it actually exists. You don't know the power you have until someone shows you that, hey, this power has been in you and you just need to activate it. So, but on the other end, you might also want to find, is there support, or the support system? Because again, you can't tell someone, oh, just pull out. You know, the person who has got to.
The pull out game might not be tight.
So you need to create what we call a strategy, an exit strategy, to now say, so how long do you want to endure this abuse? And sometimes the abuser may not even know that he is abusing the person. So do you want to confront the person and have what we call like a crisis meeting, you know, so that the person can know that you're hurting me, you know. But if every avenue for peace has been exhausted and there is no, you got to take your life back and then move on from there. Maybe it's actually it might be a good time for you to actually begin to also sponsor other people. Yeah.
You know, so, some might say, or I mean, whilst when he asked me the question, and I made a few comments, and he said, "Look, what you're saying makes sense, right?" Which is mostly what you said. It makes sense. However, let's look at the Nigerian context. Let's look at the Nigerian society. How, like, go to the rural areas and whatnot, and go to those places where you. It's almost as if you don't have a choice in that situation to get out of under your financial backer, even though that person is your main abuser. And so, you know, like it's so they're saying, oh, you know, so he said, you know, yeah, if like new school people, it's okay, they'll understand what you're saying, but really look at it in our cultural setting. This, you know, can you just say get your power back and zap?
You know, I mean, as I hear you guys, you know, I always like to be on the other side. So my question, first of all, is how do you even define somebody financially abusing you, right? I also don't believe that anybody can do to you what you haven't given them permission to do. So for me, and that may sound very, you know,
insensitive
or insensitive. However, if you had some kind of self-regard or self-esteem or self-worth, you would portray that, and the other person would then know that I can't do this to this person. So there's actually a more deep-seated issue than the person that is abusing you financially. You know, and then of course, if the person actually is, and I want to assume that, oh, he's giving you money and he's sorting out your lifestyle. Lifestyle are you also living? What are you subjecting yourself to, and for what purpose? So I work. I'm making, for example, 300,000 naira, but I'm living a lifestyle of 1 million naira. And then I'm getting it from somebody who is then saying, open your ears, eyes, mouth, nose, and every hole in your body. and I'm not, excuse my French if it's French I'm speaking. So at that point, do you then that's you putting yourself in the way for some, just because you're trying to feel among or impress other people? You can't afford something, and then there's a guy or a girl somewhere who is able to give you that kind of life, and they say be here at so time, speak to you anyhow. Meanwhile, you really can afford a normal, or relatively normal life, but you're not content with that because you're looking at the other person saying, as you're carrying that bag, me too, I'm going to carry that bag. So sometimes we also put ourselves in that position to be abused.
Well, I think so go to the rural area where a woman, I'll give you an example. I was working with a lady who said that her mom had really hurt her and she wasn't speaking to her mom. So I wanted to know the story. Then I found out that her mom took in when she was 14. So I said, how did your mom get pregnant when she was 14? Then the story took another twist when we found out that the family, her mom's family, was owing a rich man. They couldn't pay.
Right.
So the man negotiated her.
Right.
So take that situation, for instance, and I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
Where a 14-year-old girl was given out as a compensation
Against
for
her.
You get.
Yes.
Then this girl has never worked before. She doesn't have a life. You are even talking about you have a life.
Now you have
She's not even aware
Right.
of anything.
Yeah.
Never worked.
So she can't even afford a sanitary towel.
Yeah.
It's the guy that makes this
pays
provision
for everything,
available.
yeah.
Now this marriage is now 10 years old.
Yeah.
She's 24, right? And she's attended your seminar.
Yes.
Where you're, women rights. Take your power back.
Yes.
Take your power back.
Snatch your sexy
She gets
back.
excited.
Snatch it
Yeah,
back.
I want to take my power
I
back.
wanna do
Say
it.
after me. Say
Yes.
go and do
I
it
can
now.
do
it. Then she gets back home
with beating.
and say, I can do. Then you
She
wonder
can't finish it.
what's she gonna do?
Yeah.
Because she's got no life, no other life.
Yeah.
She's not able to go back home.
Yeah.
Then she's got 2 children, and
This
so she's
time,
thinking,
Where do I start
where
from?
do I start from? So I think that's what she's
She probably
saying.
didn't finish school.
Yeah.
Doesn't have
So
any
no skill. So where's she gonna
Yeah.
start
That's
from?
crippled
Yeah.
her.
So then that's when you now begin to hear a non devil is better.
An unknown angel.
burden
no.
and
Have you heard this one? A bad husband is better than no husband.
no husband. So and you have all those reinforcers that will
Yeah.
reinforce.
Yeah.
So that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
Now, for those people, honestly, it's a very difficult place to be.
Yeah.
Because I've done interventions at rural level, and I know what she's talking about. The community does not even support you living,
Right.
except, and when she leaves, are you going to take responsibility for her?
Absolutely.
I've rehabilitated prostitutes, commercial sex workers before, and I know why some of them go back. Many people rehabilitate commercial sex workers. They take them out of prostitution where they're probably doing like 10K every day. Then you say,
Come and do a job.
Come and do a job.
50K for the month.
Not even 50K. Who is going to give them a job for 50K? Come and be a cleaner for 20K. Or come and be selling. Okay, we'll set you up. Come and be selling pepper.
Product.
And so the girl tries it. She sincerely wants to change, but by the time she's frustrated in the market, nobody's coming, and the customers are still calling, she's going to go back. Do you understand?
So you haven't empowered, you haven't given
exactly.
out what,
So
right.
for that girl, I think you don't tell her to leave, right? You allow her stay within the system while you begin to provide intervention.
Right.
So does she know how to read? She doesn't know how to read. Can we teach her how to
that?
read? Can we give her books to begin to read? Can we begin to empower her hand to take some skills? Can we begin to show her? It's a long route.
Yeah.
It's not your usual motivation,
Yeah.
which is where, many a time when we preach at people or talk at people during seminars and say, go and do it now,
They're just looking at you.
you say, go and forgive your father now. Your father that raped you from age 7, raped you for 15 years of your life. Say, Jesus has paid the price. Go and forgive him now. Excuse me. It doesn't work that way. So for those kind of people, you need to create a roadmap. It's not a 1 year, it's not a 2-year thing. And you need to be there. Right?
So you've got your work cut out.
So what
for you.
what I think you need to, because I love things like this. You need to bypass conscious resistance. That even the villagers must not know what you're trying to do.
Hey, Drew, please
Yeah.
wait. Go back. Conscious.
You need to
resistance.
bypass conscious
Conscious
resistance, which means they must not see you coming.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I want to bypass conscious resistance, for
You will not
example,
call it, I'm trying to fix you.
yeah, I
Cellular.
can. Sorry, for example, one of the best ways to bypass conscious resistance is to shoot a movie. You know, shoot a skit or shoot a series. You know, that is teaching something. You know, but everyone is enjoying it, but
enjoying
it's
it,
teaching something.
it,
You know,
yeah.
so when you do that, you know, the man is not seeing you guys as a threat.
Right.
In fact, he must think
He's
that
enjoying-
you want to teach his wife to be under him forever, right? So you are empowering her,
Her.
and till she now gets to that level where she can actually hand at that point, because my friend will always say that there's only one language power understands.
Money.
Power.
Power understands power.
Power.
Power
Right.
understands
So
power. Yes.
if the husband was like this and she was like this, right?
she starts
It's a
rising.
master-slave relationship,
Right.
right? As she begins to rise, once she gets here, power knows that there's another power structure,
Somewhere, yeah.
right? So power comes to negotiate, right? Or it will not be a face-off. But
And then
usually
go your separate
it's
ways.
usually a negotiation to now say, okay, I know I've because at that point you know that she doesn't need you for sanity towers, she doesn't need you, she can actually afford to leave, right? And you say that you can't be meek when you are not strong. If you claim
It's
you are
not-
meek,
It's not humility.
if you claim you are meek when you are strong, you're actually weak.
then you are okay.
Right, because the prerequisite for meekness is strength, it's not weakness. So a lot of people say I'm meek. No, you are weak, right? So it's meekness is what I can do in my power. I refuse to do it in my wisdom,
Yes.
you know, which is power under control. So you need to empower that woman, you know, to now. That's at the point where you can now take your life back.
Right.
To now say, okay, the man may even stop her from going to school, but can she bring the school to her house?
Yes.
You know, and that's a whole lot that she can do.
And she can even learning with the kids.
Oh yeah. So it's a whole lot of work, and I think majority of the women are in the rural areas.
Yeah.
I mean, take the northern part of Nigeria, for example. That is like the typical case
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
there. So are you gonna? They are victim of religion. They're victim of culture. They are victim of
circumstance.
Yeah.
you know,
Everything.
I don't know if you saw
Yeah, it's
the
true.
way Dubai has even relaxed laws during this week to now say before now you can't cohabitate. You know, now they say, hey, you
Go
can.
ahead.
You can go ahead and do it. So you can drink beer right now.
Before you couldn't.
Yeah.
They
How
catch
now?
You could, but now they are saying, hey, you can do it. You know, women can now drive and all those kind of things. It's a long way to go for us in Africa.
It is.
It's a long way to go, but I think we now need people who can create this kind of, and it actually needs a lot of funding as well.
Yeah.
You know, because your life could be at
Because
stake.
it's a huge. I mean, it's a huge outreach project.
Mm.
It's a huge outreach project to reach the women. Because I mean, we understand the Turancy now. We understand the English. Like at a point, you're like, okay, yes, you can take your power back. But like you said, these are the real
They don't even know
guys.
what
They
you're
don't even
talking
know
about.
what
When people
they
tell
don't
you
know
fire
what
your
you're
boss,
talking
you
about.
cannot be rich by
And
working
you
for someone.
expire by
Go by
perspiring.
perspiring. Go and fire your boss. People have fired their bosses. They came back to beg.
Hungry.
Ah. You know,
Hunger.
I say retire rich, retire young. Robert
That's
Kiyosaki.
it.
The man has not retired. Robert Kiyosaki has not retired. But people are going to live there and say, I will retire. I will retire to refire, to perspire, to expire.
Okay, so
Good point.
why do people? I mean, we've got quite a, just as we
Yes,
go, right? Why do people stay silent when they face abuse? Why are they silent?
I think one thing is familiarity. It's familiar pain. It becomes familiar, and so that's devil you know is better than the angel you don't know. Of course, aside also your own, you as a person also has a lot of issues, and you don't have enough grit, you know, and sometimes maybe not enough skill, sometimes maybe not enough. It could be all those things put together. However, I think that after a while, you're just like, at least I understand him. So maybe if I avoid him this way, if I do this or her, if I do this differently, then they will do this differently. And you just stick by it because you're asking yourself, how do you know the next person is going to be better?
Now, I'm trying to make a distinction between there's staying in an abusive situation or relationship,
Right.
and then they're staying quiet about it.
Shame?
I think we've not been taught to deal with shame.
Yeah, shame.
What about? Well, I would say I think the two biggest things are like shame and fear for me.
Fear is conditioning. We've been conditioned. I mean, take for instance, if you're
quiet.
Yoruba and you won't get married, they'll tell you you don't have a room in this house anymore. Right?
That's your father, right?
Your father will say
Yes.
you don't have a room in this house. Your husband's house is your new room. Right? Religion says God hates divorce.
Absolutely.
Right? Culture will start calling you, labeling you because they
A
say
failure.
that. So take this narrative. It takes a woman to build a home.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I ask,
What
is
about
there
the man?
any woman on this planet that can build a home that a man has vowed to wreck?
No.
So instead of saying it takes a couple to build a home,
build a home.
they say women are homemakers. No,
Mhm.
it's got to be men and women. Do you
Yeah,
understand?
yeah.
So that kind. So a woman's home is. So see what happens. A woman's home is threatened. She goes on the mountain. She goes on the fast. You know, she goes on another fast. She goes on. I mean, I was talking to a friend who was in that situation, and she said to me, you know, that she's. I said, is your husband that's misbehaving? You are the one fasting.
Yeah, don't pray for
You know
him.
what's
Christ.
going on? What is the responsibility for? I'm not an adult.
It's because we're
I mean,
being taught
she was
that.
so because the man was, I mean, sleeping around.
Messing around.
Then it got to a point. She actually told me that where she went to pray, they've told her that she has actually prayed that his penis will not work when he goes to the concubine. And I laughed with him. I had to pretend as if I understood what she was saying. You know, and
So would you work with her? Is the question.
it will work with her, but it will not work with the other
Ah.
woman. But I mean, that didn't work eventually. You know, so look at the way shame was introduced to us. Cast your mind back to primary school. You know, you are the guy who scored 0 over 100. What did we do? We brought them out. We said people should, you know, and those were the guys who actually represented school in sports. So their intelligence found expression in the field, couldn't find expression. And it's not even that I couldn't find expression, they've not just mastered it. Instead for the teacher to say, what do I need to do? What style? Right?
Yeah.
So we shame those guys, right? So, and when you see people shame like that, you want to keep it to yourself. You don't want people to know what you're going through.
Yeah.
So naturally, we have not been taught
To
to speak out about what we're going through. So a woman is being beaten black and blue. She's covering up for the man because of the reputation of the man.
Yes.
To say, who would understand that, when I now say our GO or the MD slapped me, you know, it doesn't look good on the man. It doesn't look good on her as well because there are perks to the office. Do you understand? So we have been conditioned not to externalize pain and not to ask for help, you know, on time. And never forget that a lot of people, you know, their identity is often tied to things. We were conditioned to be happy through things and through people, not through us.
Not
So,
through ourselves.
you know, so I feel, oh, if I leave you now, my life is no longer complete. Where am I going to start from?
Well, those are the songs that we're listening
who is
to
now going to marry me? I'm 40. If I
Mm.
leave and I can't stay without a man, I can't stay without a woman, what will happen to my children? You know, those are the optics and those are the realities that you now think about and say, well, we die there. And we even said we die there.
Yes.
You know,
After all
I
the
know
work
that
that I've
hell.
done, after all the work, I will now leave.
Aha.
Someone else
But
will
I
now
know
come
that
and
you
enjoy
enjoy.
the fruit of my labor.
No, I didn't did.
So these are things that we now need to begin to address. And I'm not sure our laws are as strong as the American laws, where if you even want to go through divorce, you may lose. It's in your interest to stay in that marriage. You know, when Jeff Bezos went through the divorce, you know, his wife automatically became almost the richest woman in the world.
in the world.
You know, so if you know that you are capable of losing your entire wealth,
Then you better get it right.
you will even be begging the woman, don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. You know, but our laws are not
Don't
that
leave me
developed in Africa. You know,
And
where
the man will even tell you, this is my house.
Aha.
And if anybody is living here, you're the one living.
so it's sometimes it even could be both ways, you know. So what I think is, and let's not forget that during every marriage ceremony you hear things like, do not allow a third party into your relationship. Now what I say to people is that do not allow a credible third party, because you will always need a third
Somebody
party.
to talk
Yeah.
That lack of thought, there was a guy who was an abusive, beating up his wife. In fact, one day took the lady to Third Mainland Bridge and told her to jump in at 2 a.m. to jump inside the lagoon.
Why?
Wow.
I'm telling you. And this is a guy who, you won't believe it. So I asked him, I said, why are you doing this? He said, Mr. Praise, with due respect, marriage is between the man and the woman and God.
Yes.
We don't need a
Wow.
third party. Of course, the marriage is off right now. So when you hear things like that from the people you respect, and in Africa we draw our inspiration from the pulpit, from our parents, from so when you hear that take everything to God in prayer. I remember when War Room came out. Everybody, it was as if there was that war room is where everything now happens.
Everybody's going to fight.
I will go to war room for you.
Fire.
Go to war room for him. And I'm like, you can't pray yourself out of a behavioral issue.
And not even your own behavior. It's another person's behavior. But that's also because they say that God has the heart of kings in his hand. So because I've also done it. That God has the heart of something. Let me fast and pray. Maybe things. And I'm just like, after a while, you can't be sleeping while I'm praying.
It's not as if prayers cannot work.
I know that prayers work.
There is something we miss out in prayer. I think in Africa, we love the activity of prayer, not prayer.
Not the prayer.
So people go to God in prayers. They are not prepared to hear the strategy God will give them.
Right.
And they are not even, so for example, when I go to pray, my mind is very open. So people, for example, people are praying for their marriage. They don't believe consciously that God can tell them leave the marriage.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the capacity
to understand
that God might say leave. Right? And even if they hear God say leave this marriage,
they will think it's the devil.
They will think it's the devil. All the people they are talking to will think there's the devil. Right? But what I say to them is this. If you were, we believe that Jesus died on the cross. If you were Jesus' pastor and he came to meet you to seek your counsel, to say, God just told me now that I am to die for the sin of the world and they're going to crucify me, will you tell him to go ahead? If you were Moses' pastor and he says, God just told me to enter the Red Sea now, will you tell him enter the Red Sea? To protect him, you're not going to do it.
Stop him.
Right? So people want to pray to God. They are not prepared to hear the answers that God, they have their own answers already in their mind that they want.
Yeah.
Right? So
and God must do what they want.
It's like someone who is already hiring a lady and is praying to God, God, show me who to marry. You already know the idol. Follow your heart. So we are not prepared for strategy, and that's why it looks like we are not praying. And during the week when everybody was talking about America, and I said, see, you guys should stop talking about Christianity in America. Can we talk about Christianity in Israel that has 2% Christian?
Exactly.
And that's where Bible was written from. Can we even go there? And population of Muslims in Israel is 14%. Right? It's more than Christians in Israel. So we need to get to that point where we begin to do what human beings should do.
Yeah.
Because God has given human beings a brain.
Yeah.
If 911 lorry is coming, right? You don't pray.
You run.
So the same way, it slapped you the first time, second time is try to strangle you. You don't set up a war room. After all, you say prayer has no distance. It has no barrier.
Go and do it to your father's house.
You can do it from afar.
Go to your father's house.
Right? So there are so many odds against people in that situation. Odds like God cannot use you again at the highest level if you lose your marriage, and a lot of people derive esteem from positions in religious houses.
Yeah.
So when your marriage is going to break, so people are going to say, you call yourself a pastor, you call yourself this. So you would rather endure. So that they don't look at you as a failure. But you are not a failure. You made it out with your life. Some people died there.
And dignity.
Yes. I think there's also the pressure to, to make it seem like everything is okay. Perfect. Everything is okay, because I don't want anybody, saying was, like you said, especially somebody who maybe holds office in church or something, or somebody maybe who's respected at home. So like a high-flying woman, who comes into work and bosses everybody around, but then at home it's like
they're bossing you around.
Yeah, it's a completely different situation. And we're tuned, like you said, conditioned to to putting up a facade.
Yeah,
to putting up
a
wall.
I think we've been, because
somebody said also that poverty is one of the reasons why people stay silent.
Poverty.
And stay.
How?
Well, it could be poverty for some people.
To stay, but maybe not silent.
But to stay, yeah.
And then Four Fingers said they cannot believe that someone that loves them can abuse them, so they make excuses for the abuser. That's typical.
Yeah, to say, it doesn't mean it.
Yeah, that it
was out of love. There's some people there's some ladies that believe that if a man doesn't beat them, they don't love them.
But the man also will tell you now that he loves you.
They have come from a place where they used to beat them as well. So I think also that thing that you said of how we're conditioned growing up, because even me, when I speak to aunties and friends, you will hear whatever happens in your house stays in your house.
Yeah.
Don't go out, and marriage is between husband and wife. Don't go out and say anything. Then they'll tell you things like Roger, oh, just stay. Some people tell you he's not mad. Some people say, but he's not the first person that has cheated, and he's not going to be
who'll
the last. Do you know what has happened to me? Do you know what I've been? But you know what has been going on in my own life. I've stayed. So it's like, okay, so you are the sacrificial lamb. So that means that I must support you or join you as in. So everybody has a story to tell you to stay, and most of the stories are actually bad stories. And you're sitting there and you're thinking,
then why the heck should I stay?
And if somebody tell you their stories,
a quarter of what you did, what he's done, if they did it to me,
I will kill somebody.
You know, so why would you even stay in such? So then you're not here that, don't, you know, when you come to somebody with your problem, when you not hear their problem, you forget your problem and focus. So we're conditioned everywhere we go to always feel like, okay, maybe there's something I'm doing. First of all, they'll say that but the person is not mad. I remember my friend's mom, who she dated somebody who she was maybe 7 years older than. He had his first wife already. She decided she wanted to marry him. And I was like, and he used to beat her before they even got married. There was a day she went to his house, he flung her off the mattress.
Wow.
You know, and she fell down. There was a time she was pregnant. He beat her till she lost the child. But then when we spoke, she said to me, the man that she went to see a pastor, and the pastor told her that this is the man she will marry. They will have 2 children and they will divorce. And I'm like, so is that a success story?
No, the prophecy must come to pass.
No, but it didn't come to pass, because after the first child, he kicked her out of the house with the child, and that was it. He's married to his 3rd wife.
Wow.
And she's by herself with the child that she's looking after. She never got a second child.
That's why we say, go to a professional who can use data-driven tools, because I'm not emotional when it comes to things like that. You know, human problems must be resolved with human solutions. Right? Because I tell people, you can't pray yourself out of what you behaved yourself into. You know, you need to behave yourself out. You know, so you have to behave yourself out. You have to behave yourself.
You can't pray it out.
Even
with the prayer, you still need to be saying, okay, so I need to behave like
this. If
this.
my people are called by my name, we humble themselves and pray. Forsake their wicked ways. That's behaving yourself out.
Yes.
We love the first part, we don't do the second part. You know, so I think I align with what you guys are saying. And if you're listening to us, you are out there, you're going through the same issue that we're discussing, please. Help is available.
Yes.
At least find someone to talk to.
Yes.
That's the starting
from there.
That's the starting point.
Start from there.
That's the starting point. You know,
I don't believe in that. Don't say anything, because you will run mad. And maybe as I'm telling you my problem, you have a solution for me. So if I keep it to myself, I'll die.
Yeah.
And then the person just even carries on with their life as though you never came. Or even if you did come, hey.
Once you are dead, you are gone.
You know, and that's it. So for me, 1, speak out. 2, find credible people, of course, not just to speak out.
And it's both ways anyway. I have seen women who beat their husband as well.
Oh yeah. We were not just saying, it's not just
so that I don't think, you know, we've seen women who beat their husbands, women who talk down their husbands,
who also financially abuse their husbands.
Bully. In fact, I have a lot of them in that situation where the woman, I remember a man told me that it was time to pay school fees and business was very bad. And he's always paid school fees, flown his family out. And his wife said, his wife was earning well, told the man, I'm not going to put anything down. You know, you have to go look for it. He was running mad, you know, at the point, and had to come and talk to me. You know, so we have situations like that. So it's both ways, because wickedness is not any gender.
It's not any gender.
It's in both ways.
But do relationships like that even last?
Funny enough,
they do.
It lasts.
They do.
People have been.
Sometimes they do.
Is that because they're, you know, like the devil, you know, type situation?
Kind of, and because a lot of people, you see, the shame is them too much for some, so they would rather. One of my mentees was giving me a case today of how.
Give me a what?
Telling me about it. It's a typical case.
Sounding like a kiss.
Your mind needs to be washed. Oh my God.
She has been abused.
You need help. You know, so it was telling me about 2 people who were leaders. You know, it was working with one of their people and realized that these 2 people they are both pastors and they pastor different churches, and they're a couple.
Why did they separate them?
Different churches, not even different branches.
Oh, right. Different churches completely.
Right. That went past me. Okay.
So
How
apparently
they resolve?
they are separated. But the population is not
together.
aware. They think they are just doing ministries, and so those are the things. When people struggle to come out to say this thing is not working, we're going our separate way. You are a human being before, and I think we should stop having unnecessary expectation about pastors. Right? Pastor is
they're human beings.
They are human beings.
Yeah.
It's a position. They're not going to kill themselves over that role. Let's cut them some slack.
A man of God, so they're first man,
Man
before they're of God.
That's
Yeah.
even if you.
So they're man.
All of us are even men of God.
Do you understand? Yeah, of course. Now God has created us.
So
to say, but let's put that aside.
let's cut pastor some slack. Right? A pastor can get it wrong in marriage.
See, somebody said she heard kiss. I'm not the only one.
All of you need to wash your mind, okay?
We're brothers and sisters in the Lord.
So you need to understand that they are human beings.
Yes.
They can make mistakes. They're prone to error.
Yes.
They are fallible.
Yes.
And so let's stop setting them up for failure, because I think that's what we do.
I think
Yeah.
so. You're correct.
And if you're listening to
But
us,
they
maybe
also set
you're a
themselves up
pastor
for
or
failure.
something. That you're the pastor of the church doesn't mean you can take marriage seminars or something like that.
Yeah.
There are resources in your congregation. Give them expression,
Yeah.
right? Because by the time you also begin to take, we have not had the first quarrel with your wife. Excuse me, we know it's not correct. We know it's not true.
Yeah.
You can't stay with someone and you say you want to have the first quarrel or something
Even
like that.
twins
So you need to calm down and chill, right? When it's not working, you are free to. I mean, I was talking to one guy was accusing, he's saying, a pastor should not get the divorce. So I said, chill. I said, who is your favorite pastor? Can you mention the 3 top pastors that are your favorite? So he said, number 1, Kenneth Copeland, number 2, Joyce Meyer, So I said to him that, are you aware Kenneth Copeland is in a stud marriage?
Wow, I didn't even know that.
He opened his mouth like this to say, no, President. I said, check Google, right? Because, of course, he was classified as he was an unbeliever. I wasn't born again, right? But he's been divorced twice before he met Gloria, right? He was a stud wife. And, of course, I said, are you aware that Joyce Meyer, is in a second marriage? He looked at me and said, Prince, are you for real? I said, no. The first guy Joyce Meyer married was a drug addict and got her into drugs. Say if she had not left that marriage to now marry this day, you won't even know the Joyce Meyer. I said, so it's right for Americans, but bad for Africans.
Bad for Africans.
I said, so you guys need to understand that while we don't divorce, it's an option.
But would God rather you dead than divorced? Is the question.
It's a God of all.
Would God rather you dead?
So there are situations. In fact, you don't even know the one that is worse.
This person says, 4 fingers. He says it's okay to be a pastor and have a therapist.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every pastor needs one.
Help.
Yeah,
because everybody needs help.
Because even the things that pastors here, master,
they need somebody to detox them.
Yeah. So you have situations where you just believe these people can make mistakes, so they are patching it up, they are dying.
Yes.
A lot of them are suffering burnout.
Yes.
And so people need to understand that if you get it wrong in marriage, right, and you've done everything. In fact, the worst ones are the ones where. So you have situations where the 2 of them are married in Nigeria, then one of them went abroad for greener pasture, gets married to another person
for papers.
Now 3 children over there already, 11 years, right? And the man is saying abroad, move on. I have moved on. Yet someone is saying, keep believing. He's still going to come back to you. You must not leave your husband. Excuse me. Move on. So lots of people are in bitterness. So they will say, oh, right? you can't even remarry, until he dies.
It's adultery.
So does he not need to begin to pray that God kill him so that I can remarry? So these things are very simple. The guy is gone. He's told you move on. Divorce, start your life afresh. You are too young. So you will still find someone that loves you and someone that. So it looks like sometimes the reason
they make God bipolar
is too high for the religious. That something that is, if you ask a child, if you ask my son now to say, bring this scenario, because he doesn't have spiritual knowledge, like we claim he's still human. He If you ask him, he'll say, but the woman should move on. Do you understand? But that's simple.
It's too simple. Like,
Yeah,
it's too simple.
we always want to make it very complicated because eventually people's mental wellness it's totally messed up. Even when you now eventually hear them talk, you are pained in your mind to say something has gone wrong with the humanity of this person.
Yeah.
You want to feel for them, but they say it in the way that I don't want to miss heaven. And you are like, you're already in hell.
Where is heaven?
You're already,
That's the best question. Where is
you're
heaven?
already living in hell. You are just not being, you are living in denial. This guy has moved on 11 years. It's too long. It's still waiting. Is my God given husband. God ordained us. So if he dies, what happens?
What a shame.
You know, so I think this abuse is deeper. You know,
definitely.
and I think it looks like it's entrenched in our culture.
Yeah, and our
So
religion.
I actually had a question here. Can you link the origin of abuse to religion and in quote culture? And for me, I mean, if you asked me that question, I would say 100% yes.
What I've learned,
I would say yes.
what I've learned about religion is this. I think every religion takes on the takes on the shape of the culture it meets on ground when it arrives.
I think so.
So
I seconded you.
so if you look at Africa, before Christianity came, our kings,
You were marrying plenty wives.
there's
my best
I was going to say that.
Now they will cut the leg of the
If you say so, you have stories of husband going without with his wife for a function in the palace, and the king looked at your wife and say,
I want her.
And just like that.
So can you say what about Besele so that people
The king had possessed her.
Yes.
Taking possession of this one.
Yes, that's it.
So you're looking at that. That was pre-Christianity, pre-Islam. It's already in our culture, right? So the has always been important than the life of the poor, because when a king dies, they will kill human beings
and
as
seven
sacrifice.
people.
Sacrifice.
I want to believe that the people who came to colonize us, they had researched to find out that we were self-centered people. So that was why they could give us dry gin and we sold our brothers.
That's it.
So when Christianity came, if I was doing a trajectory process today, because it just dawned on me that American Christianity is different from Nigerian Christianity, different from British Christianity.
Yeah.
In fact, the original Christianity in Nigeria was British Christianity,
Yeah.
but the one we have right now is American Christianity.
American,
Because in the days of
American brothers, you got a man.
yeah,
They're taking
in the
over.
days of British Christianity in Nigeria, nobody sowed seed and say sow 70K.
It was like this.
It never existed. It was when American Christianity came that we started talking about empty your bank account, empty your that was American Christianity. And if you check, you will never find a who is very, very flamboyant like that. So it's cultural.
Isn't that also because British people are
conservative. That's what I'm saying. So if you check,
they keep to them.
So if you see Islam in UAE and see Islam in northern Nigeria, right? Two different Islam. One is very progressive. One is saying that 2117 we're building the first estate in mass. The other one is saying foreign education is
or kill a girl.
So I think is a culture. And culture is defined as the way of life of a people. But the new definition is culture is the way of life of people at every point in time.
Yeah.
So the question now comes is, who are the custodians of culture? What was the reason for creating the culture? What was their worldview for creating culture? What was the exposure? What was the selfish motive for creating some of the cultures they created? And this culture has endured. Some of the culture that we should have changed, we have kept them, till now. So when religion comes, it takes on. Remember, even the Bible says that you have made the word of God of men. Which means if you put religion and put tradition, it's like we say when you put culture and strategy. Culture will eat strategy for lunch. If you set up an excellent organization in Nigeria today, the greatest threat is the culture of the environment where your company is domiciled. No matter how much you train your people, you just wake up one day, come back there, and realize that they've turned it to their. So it is our culture that we need to begin to check to say, so in the northern culture that says you can marry a girl child, a woman cannot. There's a case on Twitter of I don't know, an actress in the north who exposed her back,
and she's in
and they are saying
trouble.
Yet the daughter of some of them, mighty, got married in the north, and they exposed back, and nobody talked about anything.
Mm.
Right.
Rich and famous.
So-
There's even a current case about, in fact, the IGP or something. I think it was the
Yeah,
IGP that's looking for somebody
Someone
because they said they were blasphemous or something like that.
That too. Very important.
I
So
don't know.
it's culture we need to begin to look at and say,
Time as
how come produce, excellent culture in Australia, and is producing what is produced in Nigeria, so again, the culture. So we've always gyrated. In Africa, we're happy. We always gyrated.
Boogie.
We've always gone to. So what we look at as praise and worship was what we've always done in front of Ogun Shrine, where we gyrate and all these things. We just changed it. So the God we were introduced to,
it's a God of fire.
So
and brimstone.
Observe prayer meetings. When we
Lion
say,
of the tribe
let us
of
pray for the love of
Judah.
God to be spread abroad in our hearts, is very, very
Solemn.
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 But when you say every enemy against my father's
I'm already
house,
shaking.
the way we even behave, our body language,
I'm already getting ready
our
for
body.
fire.
Let me make you laugh. Let me make you guys laugh. So I have a friend who pastors in Lagos, and he runs 4 services. Went to the US, an all-white church.
Oh my goodness.
So they raised a prayer point to say, as we go towards the end of the year, I shall not die but live to declare the glory of the Lord. So when they raised the prayer point, it started vibrating. He was not aware that I was the only one vibrating. So he said the usher came to tap him and say, "Are you okay?" He looked at the usher and said, "I'm praying
now."
He said, "Do you need some coffee?"
Oh no.
"Need some coffee? How?" So he said he now realized that nobody was vibrating like him. So he said the usher now called him, excused him after the service and say, "Well, I want to believe that it's your first time here, and I think you're a new convert. So let me teach you about God." He says, "Yeah."
And he's a pastor.
4 services in Nigeria packed. So the usher said to him that, "Do you have a father?" He said, "Yes, I have a father." "How do you talk to your father?" All right. He said, "Do you shout? Do you scream? Do you vibrate like this?" He said, "No." He said, "So that's the way that's the way God is."
Oh my
And he
goodness.
said, God is even more interesting because he knows what you want to say before you say it.
Yes.
Right? So without even saying it, he knows what you're thinking.
So you don't need to
So
do
you don't need to
anything.
Yeah, you have to pretend as if it's a new convert.
Whoever your friend is.
And so
At least hopefully he would have learned.
no,
something.
he's a totally transparent person right
That's
now.
fantastic.
So it's cultural
Oh.
at the end of the day.
Wow. Four Fingers says, I would say the core of abuse is linked to what the society, despite
Guys
culture,
are laughing.
accepts as a norm,
Guys are laughing on
Which-
Instagram.
which indirectly imposes stigma on the part of the abusee. Pedophiles use culture as an excuse to marry young girls.
Yeah, we have not been
definitely.
taught. We have
Definitely.
not been taught.
So and creating a new culture it's tough.
Because we want
definitely.
change,
Yeah.
but we don't really want change.
Yeah.
We don't want the end of change. We like the idea
But we don't want
of
the
change,
process.
but we don't want the process.
So that's
We don't
why
want the
those of us who are
process.
now aware, I was teaching at the New Rules of Parenting, and I said one thing we now need to do. It takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now we need to intentionally create our own village because you can't take your child back to your village to say your village should raise him. They are going to mess up your child.
Absolutely.
So Diola can be a part of my village. You are a part of my village. We have like 20 people like that
intentionally.
who are we now create our own village. In fact, it can be virtually created right now where we take turns to teach our children our values. These are our villages, what we believe. Because I can't go to my village, for example. I can't even fit in.
Can you even
So
speak the
we now
language?
need to create our village where if I want to travel, I know I can put my child with Diola. We subscribe to the same values, and so those are without that we are almost doomed.
We're going to come back to that when we deal with child abuse, because that's a very interesting, for me, that's a really interesting aspect of
How to raise
children. So please let's park it for now.
I want to share one
okay.
example or one experience. But before I got married,
What would they say?
Yeah, no, they are echoing
They're
what
still
we're
laughing.
saying, and they're saying
Okay.
intentionally create your village.
village.
Yeah.
I used to think that what I thought I did was the ideal, and I'll share it. I thought that everything that I wanted in a man that my intended didn't have, and I found it in other men. I cut them all off. And I thought to myself, because this is the best solution, because then I don't need to now start looking for it somewhere else. So if, for example, I like talking and I'm with somebody who doesn't like talking, but I have a praise who can gist to me for 2 years, I will cut praise off. And not knowing that I was doing a huge disservice to myself, because I then found out that the things that I cut off were things that were to my core, right? And there were things that made me think I needed them. So when I couldn't get it from the person that I was with, one, maybe he was also incapable of giving it to me, or it was a weakness that he had. But what I also found out was that I also was taking away from myself. So it, and I'm saying this to go back to keeping quiet. Or thinking that, we should just manage or not say anything or whatever, because that what I thought was the right thing to do, but it's actually the opposite. You should actually find other people that you can get some of those coping mechanisms or the form of what you need from different people.
Well, latest research has shown that the concept of opposite attract is
opposite to repel. They should never attract.
It's what we now say is kinds bind bonds, not opposite. So if you want to talk, marry someone who loves to talk.
Talking,
you want to keep quiet, marry someone who likes to keep quiet, because with that situation, and that's another form of abuse, where someone who likes sex marry someone who doesn't like sex.
Absolutely.
And at the beginning of the year says, can you choose the 3 times we're going to do it this year?
January, April, and December.
How are you going to survive that?
I have no idea.
And so that's another thing.
And then you say that the other spouse will not end up having an extramarital.
They don't even know that I can't have an extramarital. It happens a lot among religious people. In fact, I have cases where the owner say, I know you don't want to lose heaven. I know you will not
so
go
you
out.
won't go anywhere.
So the guy is under torture.
Then they'll buy toys and buy other things that they need
in
you don't know now. They do not many of them are buying toys and all those things.
And so that's another form of abuse in there. So which is why we need to, because opposite attract came to us, and it went wildfire. Opposite attract actually work for things, not beings, not beings.
Hey,
I like that.
I have to say that.
Opposite attract works for things, not beings. I love that.
Not beings, because
that is diamond.
And when people understand that, they will stop looking. Because if you check couples who are really, really enjoying themselves, decision is easier when it's someone that is like you,
your friend.
You don't have to think. It's quiet. What is he thinking? How will he say it? How will I say it to him?
How will she accept it?
How will she accept it?
How will she hear it? How will he hear it?
Nah.
You'll be planning. You'll be getting ready to get ready, and you're
You
going
have sign of it. You commit yourself.
You do 30 days of fasting and prayer and fast. As you're saying it, you'll not be asking yourself, maybe I should. You will not run mad, because you're talking to yourself, saying it to yourself, answering yourself, then saying it to yourself, telling yourself a story that never happened and living on it.
Wow.
Help us.
Okay, so we're getting close to the 1 hour mark. I can't believe that so much time.
Yeah, we got
gone.
8 minutes to go.
No, we're not finishing at 8 o'clock because we have a little bit more. So anyway, I want to. So not everybody will go through abuse. And we've talked about how some people stay silent because of shame or fear or whatever it is. But there are signs. There are signs of abuse, whether it's physical abuse or domestic abuse, whatever kind of abuse, but there are signs of abuse. And so what are some of those signs, and how do you and when and how do you step in to help?
Abuse takes various forms.
As somebody is hailing you, praise.
What I say is the moment abuse stems from the moment someone cannot stand your magnificence, cannot stand your individuality, and always feels that you should be someone else. There's no way that person is not going to abuse you. I think it's disrespectful to meet a lady and to be, trying to mold her into who you think she should be, right?
Or vice versa.
So if we don't find out who people are, you're going to abuse them. You're going to abuse them, especially when you don't see them as human beings that must be respected. You will see them as things that must be used. And that's what happens. So once you are with someone and you don't feel respected, You can hear your opinion. You can talk to them as friends. You are not yourself. I was asked to define who a demon is, what demons are many years ago. And I said a demon is a person, a system, an ideology, a belief, or even a person that suppresses your originality and strikes fear into you and makes you say yes when you meant to say no.
Oh, gosh.
So by the time I ask people to process that definition and pick up names that align with that definition,
It was plenty.
I mean,
Even your mother and father.
I'm telling you. So the moment someone cannot stand who you are, right, and they are naturally going to abuse you, all right, and he will now, and never forget that a lot of people, they have had their identity compromised, even from the way they were raised. So your parents can set you up for abuse, that you will naturally
just fall for it,
find yourself in. So there is what we call the integrative law of request, and it's one of the banes of a lot of Nigerians. So when you sit with someone, have you not noticed that people say, I don't want to marry a man like my father? That's the kind of man they marry.
And that's exactly who you marry.
Good.
Holla.
So it's called there are two levels of motivation. We have what we call away from motivation, and we have towards motivation.
Yes.
So what we say to people is always look for what you want rather than not what you are running away from.
Yeah.
Because what you fear most
is what you will attract.
And your mind does not have the capacity to recognize don't, can't, won't. So if you say, I don't, have you not noticed that those meetings where you say you will not be poor is where you have the highest congregation of poor people, right? I don't want a man who will cheat on me.
Because they are fighting against.
Yeah. So, and the easiest way I say it is this. If I ask you, Diola, that...
ask me a nice question.
Right. If I ask you, Diola, put a picture around what I'm about to say.
Should I close my eyes?
Yeah. Diola is wealthy. What can you see?
I can see myself in affluence, in a very nice house with a nice garden, some nice cars parked in the garage, and my family. All and well by the beach.
Okay, good. Now let me put it in another way.
Sipping pina colada.
Coladas.
Let's put it another way. Let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase it. Diola will not be poor. Tell me what you can see.
Nothing. And then maybe now I can see me just sitting down.
Yeah, because when you say Diola will not be poor,
you start
right?
to see yourself.
You will see poverty a bit in it. But if you say Diola will be wealthy, poverty does not show up at all.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And that's out because your mind processes in pictures. So once poverty shows up on your radar, that's what you begin to attract. Once cheating shows up on your radar, so a lot of people, I don't want to marry a man like my father. If what was in your father was in your father, your mother wouldn't have married him.
Yes.
Right. So what do you want? I want this and this and this. And that's the energy. It's called energy and vibration. So a lot of people vibrate at a lower level because they are running. So even from the way they speak, from the way they pray, they are running away from something. They are running away from something. My father will not die. My mother will not die. They are running away from death. So what exactly do you want? That's why he did not say, let the weak say, I am not weak. So let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich. Right? So it's moving. Yeah, it's moving you. It's moving you in the direction of what you truly want. So a lot of people don't know what they want in life. They know what they don't want. And that one thing they don't want is eventually what they attract.
So for someone who finds themselves in an abusive relationship, wherever those relationships are, this thing's about to time out. I don't know why.
Yeah, because it's 1 hour. Some people have their identity compromised. Okay, very key.
Okay. So how? So I have to go back to that question. Fantastic, roundup and all of that. What are the signs? So as an outsider looking in, I want to be able to. What should I look out for? I'm not saying in my relationship. I'm not saying but as an outsider, as somebody who your you're looking out for your family or friends or whatnot, some of the things that you can identify that the person may not be telling you or may not be sharing, but you can identify and say, oh, something is going on with this person, and I need to, and I think I want to step in. So it's like a twofold question. How do you identify the signs? How do you know what those signs are? And then how do you know when to step in? Because not everybody's going to say, oh, I need help.
It might be tough.
Or that you offer help and they'll be like, yeah, give me the help.
It might
I
might be tough, honestly, because people are perfected the act of acting. People are perfected the act of acting, but it will now take you to observe. For example, I can look straight into your eyes and I know that you are not happy.
Yeah.
All right. And sometimes you ask simple questions like,
look into my eyes.
leave me.
Am I happy?
Leave me. No, leave me. So sometimes you can ask questions like, so how's your husband? You know, if you can read body signs,
Hi, Reshayo.
you will know something is not adding up here. You know, and sometimes people talk a lot about their spouse to mask something. Other times they don't even talk about them at all. You know,
it's like they don't exist.
So sometimes, so when you see those two extremes, you want to find out what is going on here. What is going on here? Other times you'll see a situation where the person is head all over someone, then you're wondering there is no space in here. What's going on here? So for example, I was in counseling. I remember I was in counseling with my wife when we were going to get married, and there was another couple who was supposed to get married with us, and the guy's name was William. So my wife now looked at the guy and said, "Oh, hope you don't mind if I call you Willie." That's how the girl jumped. I said, "No, nobody calls him Willie. I'm the only one who calls him by that name."
Okay.
So I
Hold
said,
your horses.
So I whispered to Tosin, I said, this guy is in an abusing relationship because this person does not have a personality.
Oh, wow.
All right. So it's going to choke him. So we're married like 5 months. So I asked someone, oh, by the way, this guy is
that couple.
They said the guy did not show up on the
At
day of
the
the
wedding.
engagement.
Oh gosh.
He did not show up.
Somebody must have told him,
He
run
did not
for
show
your
up.
dear life.
He did not show up. He did not show up. You know, and that shook that girl. But it led to a journey into transformation.
Oh, wow.
Because
I think we don't actually talk about it enough, but I don't think we have the time tonight. But I think we don't talk about it enough. How some women are very manipulative, and
It's from a place of insecurity.
yeah,
as well.
and also, you know, are the abusers in that relationship or in their
we
relationship?
make it seem like it's the man.
Once-
always make it seem
once
like
someone
it's the
begins to
man.
say to you, if you ask someone, who are your friends?
Yeah,
And say,
my
you
husband.
are the only friend I have.
Ah,
Red flag.
guns
Red
out.
flag. Red flag.
So me too, I was a red flag now.
Red flag.
Because I cut off everybody that had some
It's
semblance.
red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag because you must. I mean,
You
are
must
you
have
saying you don't have a
friends.
past?
Yes.
You don't
Or a
have
life.
a. I mean, you don't have a life. You must have people in your life. I mean, I've had friends that we've been friends for 20 years. You know that we don't have to meet every day, but I mean, we can do get away. We can do stuff. You know. So when you now get in a relationship with someone and begin to say, "I don't like this your friend," cut off from this person. Those are signs that makes you know that something is not right here. Or the person doesn't, I don't have any friend at all, you know, because I can't bear to be heartbroken. So you ask them, so what happened to all when this person, or the person is always talking
Complaining
down
about
other people,
someone
and
else.
this was what my ex did, those are red flags, you know. And once someone does not have an identity, there's a problem, and that person is susceptible, you know.
But there are many people who don't have their identity.
Too many of them,
Yeah.
or someone is
Majority of
involved
the
in too
people-
many activities. Those are red
They're running
flags.
away
They're
from
also
something.
They're
trying
running
to-
away from something.
Yeah,
You know, so you want people to
Or
heal.
if you always want to spend time with people, you don't like your own company.
Yes.
If you don't like your company, why should someone else like you? Enjoy your company.
Absolutely. You
So
know,
it's plenty things.
so there are so many things. So it's not one thing.
Joy.
What you say?
She said, Ashake, you're the only friend I have. There's problem.
Me, let me confess to you. So I was doing this course, and in one of the classes, there's write down the 5 people that you spend the most of your time with. I was struggling. So I put your name down. I put Bookie's name down. I put my mom's name down. And I think who else? And I couldn't come up with 5. And so I said to myself, you're in trouble. Now, it's not like I don't know people. I know quite a number of people, but that I spend a lot of time alone because I'm studying constantly. I said I'm a student forever. So even at home with my kids, of course I spend time with my kids. When my husband is around, I try to create some time as well. But I'm constantly also trying to just better myself, you know. And then I found that there's so many things I want to do, and there's skills that I must develop, right? And so I'm doing a lot of skills development in my skills. So I started saying to myself, Mama, this is a problem. You know, like I need to now.
In fact, she asked me, was it not yesterday? Was it 2 days ago?
Yes.
That who are the
friends
who are the top 5 people that you can talk about XYZ with, and when you will talk is about better growth and
financial growth.
I was like, okay, there's Joy,
she done. By the time she was done, she said, "I need new friends." Right? Like, because I think also my support system has always been like my family, right? So I have had friends at different times. I have been hurt sometimes, and so I'm like, just stay. However, I know that there are certain people that if I call, they'll come for me. So I do have friends, but when you now say, who do you spend time with? I don't spend time with that many people.
And we need to.
Yeah. So, what would you say? I'm just trying to. Okay, so two more talk points, but we need to round up real quick. Grace, shorten your English.
Your final thoughts.
Yeah. Anyway, what would you say are the effects of abuse?
Abuse steals your personality.
That identity that you didn't have.
Once I mean, you can actually live a life that is less than the life of an animal without knowing.
Ooh.
That's what abuse can do.
What?
It's abnormal use.
Say that again. You can live a life.
You can live a life that is less
than that of an animal.
And you will not know.
And you won't know.
God, please. No, I'm looking down now. God, please, because you live in me.
Go on social media. Go on social media and see what people defend. See what they defend. See what they comment.
And how they comment.
And how you are almost in tears to say, I mean, for lack of a better expression, who did
this to you? Who wronged you like this?
That you are not even aware. Someone can type something long and he has said nothing.
Absolutely. And they're plenty. My Instagram now 30 minutes it times me.
And if you see he has said a whole lot.
Yeah.
So that's what abuse can do.
Yeah.
Because you can so get used to being abused that abuse becomes your signature.
No more.
When you are no longer abused, you think something is wrong.
But in Nigeria, how do we greet ourselves? Were Baoni.
Those are area boys. I don't
really. But a lot of people greet that. Because it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to call ourselves animal names and
you see the problem here is we don't have good role models in front of us. You don't have too many of them. So if you look at billionaires who made money legitimately, who can tell you A to Z of being a billionaire, we don't have that kind of. So we're not like India or China that says, okay, they're raising our X, Y, the number of billionaires. We don't have that, right? And so when abuse it's abnormal use. So you can be a human being, and Yoruba people will call it that your destiny has been shortchanged and you are not aware. So when people pray for destiny recovery, they do it in form of prayer, but it's not just prayer; it's behavioral change. Because that you are a human being, you've been turned to a microphone and you are not aware. That's what abuse can do.
There's an elderly man that I was quite friendly with a couple of years ago, and he used to offer to want to help me do certain things. And so one day I said to him, I said, what all these things you're offering me, what do you want in return? And he looked at me and he was like, what do you mean? I said, I don't know that people don't give you something for something in return, especially since it's a young girl like myself and it's an older guy like yourself. You'll be seen as an aristo. I'll be seen as something else, However, and he looked at me and he said, it shows me the kind of people you hang around with.
Yeah.
And that thing, he said, I don't need to want anything from you to help you. I'm helping you for nothing.
That will feel very strange.
And it felt so weird. And that changed my life around, because now I realize that you can actually do something for me from your
nothing.
heart.
Yeah.
For nothing. And even if I do meet people who want something, it doesn't mean that everybody's like that.
Oh yeah. So it's not a good place to be. So when people say
very rare indeed.
you can people that they've been thoroughly damaged, that they are not even aware. We call that level learned helplessness, where you hate what is being done, but you can't stop it.
But you can't
That
stop
you
it.
even be the one presenting yourself
Self-destruct
to say.
or
So you
self-sabotage.
see guys, they have been hovering around moving around in circles. There's no progress. It's motion without movement, right? But they think they are growing. They are still talking. They are still driving a car, but they are not, because
They're not moving.
a lot of people don't. Do you know how many Nigerians belong to a religious group that they can't walk away from?
Yeah.
They have forgotten the fundamental concept of religious society, which is a voluntary organization.
Yes.
The rule of a voluntary organization is free entry, free exit. That's the rule.
But you'll be sweating.
Now
to tell
they
your
have
pastor,
come
I'm leaving.
freely, but they can't exit.
Go, they're in bondage.
So it's no longer a voluntary organization, but they are not aware. So gradually their brain is totally a mess, right? That they can't even think straight. And they will understand whatever is being thrown at them. They can't even process it
Or question
it.
Yeah.
I mean, they have been totally. But if you now try to, the worst part is, if you try to help them, you are an enemy.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
That's
You don't want my progress.
That's where they say what is shele.
You don't want my progress.
Okay, so to round up, we must, because we must go home.
We must.
We gotta go.
How do you get your power back? I know we've touched on different things as we've talked.
You sure we can handle? How do you want power back?
Maybe
Send us an email
maybe just
DM.
a summary.
We can do a
Maybe
summary,
just a
but I
summary.
think it's something we need to devote an entire episode to.
It was meant to be this episode.
It can do it. Because I mean, getting your power back
We
is
can talk about this
getting your
episode.
power back
That's
is
not the plan.
is
That was not the
I ran releasing your personal power for 13 days. So she's right, 13 days. Releasing your power. I was teaching different things, different aspects of it, because you first need to recognize what power. You are the first thing is you have completely forgotten the power you even have. You don't even know.
My brother.
So you might need to take a journey to you at age 5.
Oh.
To go and look for the people that knew you at age 5, knew you at age 10, to say, okay, if you think about me at age 5,
What do you remember?
What do you remember about me? Because you don't even know. You have been
somewhere
you
else.
have been done. Lack of a better.
You mean did? You have been did.
So you need to go back and let them begin to tell you, remind you, bring to it exists at the subconscious level.
Yeah.
It's just that events has overtaken it, right? So they need to now bring you back. Now say, what uniform were you wearing in primary school? Who sat beside you?
Like doing?
Are you aware that people don't remember anything about their primary school?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember a chunk of my.
I remember
we
something.
have to take them back to now say, oh, who was that teacher that you liked? So the environment closer, their memory begins to snap back, right? So when you now talk about the personal power, you now talk about the development of that personal power. You now talk about the platform of that personal power. You now even talk about the spirituality of that personal power. You now talk about the demons they need to cast out for them to even be free. You now talk it. So it's a whole lot. But the starting point, let's give them a task.
Yes.
Can you go back to your past in time and go back to people that knew you between ages 0 to 5? Look for 5 people that knew you between ages 0 to 5. Ask them this question. When you think about me between that age range, what can you remember about me? Look for another 5 that knew you between ages 6 to 10, right? Ask the same question and let them be honest with you. Then look for another 5 that knew you between ages 11 to 16, then from 17 to 21. Check what they have to say about you and check who you are right now. You might be shocked that a lot of people are manifesting what we call pseudo personality. The real person has been stolen.
Hey, are you real?
Is
the question.
I think we'll end with this quote from. Actually, I think I have 2 quotes I would like to end with. One of them is. Actually, I think I'll just make it one. The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. And that's by Alice Walker.
Mm.
The most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any.
And you have power.
You got a power.
You
got
have
it.
power. It may be tough, but it's very doable. I'll say I'm a living testimony.
Yep.
You know, and if I could do it,
You
then
can.
you can too.
And there's one more quote here by Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Who sent the message?
I don't know
wonder.
who sent me. I don't know who sent the message. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Power is given only to those who dare to lower themselves and pick it up. Only one thing matters. One thing: to be able to
To dare.
dare.
Thank
And
you. Thank
on that
you.
note,
I think that rounds.
on the note, if you've been touched in any way by what we've shared today, if you'd like to share your story or have some questions you'd like us to answer, or any topics really that you would like us to deal with, please send an email to realdeepconvoz, CONVOZ @gmail.com. You can also send us a Facebook message. Hi, Victoria, send us a Facebook message. Okay, my mother says it's a frightening thought. Your personality has been stolen. And Joy says, I got the power. Be the theme song of today's episode.
Everyone's got the power. Okay.
And Kesba says, this was great as usual. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Email
guys.
address, realdeepconvos with a Z, that is @gmail.com.
Yeah.
Go to our Facebook, go to our YouTube.
I think we should try next week. Maybe we'll get a phone line so that people can call in live on the show.
Yep.
If they want
Yep.
to make a contribution or ask a question or something like that.
Yes, we're gonna do that. So see, there's levels. There's levels to this thing.
We're
And we're moving up.
growing.
We're moving up. So next week we'll get a
Bye-bye.
phone line so you can call in and make your
Contribute.
contributions, ask your questions. You know, there's levels to this thing, man. So anyway, I'm gonna go off now and